Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphany. So let's begin here. This is a little bit of light news. It's from finbowl.com. The article is titled Ripple versus SEC Court Case Update as of January 9th, 2023. They confirmed something in this. That's why I want to cover it. But then we're going to jump into some hefty bank information. All right, so prepare for that. We need to get an update on some of these banks that Ripple is working with. Now, this article, well, it doesn't begin here, but we're going to begin with this section titled Possible Case Outcome. Let's just get right to the crux of everything, the important stuff. It says, in the meantime, there is speculation regarding the possible case outcome. Although a section of the industry has cited that the ruling might favor Ripple, I agree with that. However, according to the United States Attorney Jeremy Hogan, both Ripple and SEC have equal chance of winning. I'll take that over, how these other companies were on the losing end. I'll take that. Why not? Equal chance of winning? Yeah, I believe in my people. I believe in my boys. I think they're going to bring it home. The home team is going to win. That's how I feel. You're going to have to prove to me otherwise. Until then, we stand firm. We hold our shields. We swing our sword. And the victories so far have been mostly in our favor. So I'm going to go with that. Now, if the enemy wants a victory, they're going to have to take it. Simple as that. Show me. You're going to have to take it. So now let's continue on here. At the same time, a recent Twitter poll by Pro XRP. OK, so we know about that. Let's continue on here. Furthermore, with both parties making final submissions, the crypto community is speculating on the possible judgment date. Well, I mean, I wouldn't speculate. I'm just going to go by what the lawyer said. And they said around February or March. So let's continue on here. That's what they said. And like I said, and we all know that that's adjustable. No one controls the court systems. No one tells the government and etc. what to do. So they can always shift things around. We know there's a few aces up the sleeve that the SEC can play, but they haven't done that as of yet. So we'll see how that goes. And we just adjust accordingly. But anyway. Well, let's continue on here. It says, for instance, Falan noted that if there is no settlement, the matter might be settled on or before March. So there you go. So once again, same timeline. So that's what I'm talking about. So that confirms to me as of now, we're still on the same timeline. February or March. As they said months ago, they're iterating that again. Simple as that. Simple as that. And then we go from there. We adjust accordingly. So now, okay, let's move on from there. There's so many banks that Ripple is working with. I don't understand how anyone could debate that. And there's so many negative people. I don't even listen to these individuals anymore who should be focusing on their projects. But focusing on XRP and Ripple when we have so many banks signed up. So one of the banks that we do have signed up, and there are many, is Saudi or Sabb Bank, Saudi British Bank. OK, so they partnered up with Ripple to utilize RippleNet and XRP. I'm sure that's going to be expanding, but nevertheless, let's take a look at how much that bank is worth. We want to know the health of these banks so far. We've covered a lot of different banks. And one of the reasons I wanted to look into these banks, because I was saying to myself, wait a minute, we covered QNB. We cover Attajari Waffle, all of these in the MENA region. If you didn't see that last video, my goodness, watch that last video. It was a potent one. It's going to make a lot of sense as to why I'm covering what I'm covering here now. But we cover QNB, we cover Attajari Waffle Europe, Attajari Waffle Morocco. You know, Europe is the Attajari Waffle Europe is a subsidiary. They have a lot of subsidiaries, actually. But Ripple and Algorand, Hedera are getting deep into these regions where they are rich in oil and other commodities. There's a reason for that. They're making good business ties in those regions. There's a reason for that. I foresee the advent of currencies and digital assets that are backed by oil. There's already been attempted. Already has been attempted. So the precedent has already been set. Like I said, watch that last video that I put out. So I said to myself, wait a minute, there were other banks that Ripple was working with in the MENA region. that led me to going back and doing a little bit of research and pulling up a few. There's more. If you look up the amount of banks, I mean, like really do a search for the amount of banks Ripple is working with, it's mind blowing. And some of them are not easy to find. But anyway, this bank here is Sabb Bank, Saudi British Bank, Saudi British Bank. So here they have it. I typed in how much is Sabb Bank worth in US dollars. So it says here market summary, Saudi British Bank, SJSC, is worth $79.11 billion. Let me say that again. $79.11 billion. By the way, I can't remember which bank. We got a few banks we're going to cover here today. There's a bank that is doing something and brought something to my attention that's going to be huge when it comes to liquidity tokens. We'll get to that. Don't worry. The chapter will be somewhere in here. 79.11 billion. Actually, this is an SAR. So now, okay, so as of January 2023, okay, so I don't know why they put that there. I put in US dollars, 79.11 billion SAR. All right, so now let's scroll down here. Here they have it. It says here, as of January 2023, the Saudi British Bank has a market cap of $21.47 billion. Still great, still great. But they threw me off a little bit there because I put in US dollars and then they actually gave me the amount in SARs, Saudi Rials, which is still okay. But 24 billion is still very, very good. It shows you it's a healthy bank. Listen, we're on this journey together. From time to time, I may misspeak or say something wrong. That's why we're researchers together. Question everything, do your own research and such like that. But I will correct myself if I misspoke like that. I said that that was an SAR. Boom, 21.47 billion US dollars is still very healthy. All right, so now let's go. Actually, I went to their website and I pulled up this document from their annuals. So they have a lot of documents, actually, if you want to read it. But this is from their actual website, and this document is titled The Saudi British Bank Interim Condensed Consolidated Statement of Financial Position. These are the important documents, everyone. This lets you know how much capital is flowing through there, how much debt they have, how many loans and things, and how much credit they're issuing. All of this could flow across chain. That's why that's important. It gives you an idea of the type of value, of the type of volume, congestion possibly, when everything is up and running. And keep in mind, this is one bank. We're talking hundreds of banks. What happens to the XRPL when there's hundreds of banks using it? And XRP is getting burned per transaction. And it's in constant flow. What happens then? Because keep in mind, we're doing interbank payments. We're also doing cross-border payments. We're doing micro payments. We have that capability as well. We're providing liquidity. I mean, there's so many different things. Then don't forget the NFTs on the XRPL. The tokenization of like pretty much everything, debt, commodities, all of this stuff, real estate. They're starting to get into music. What happens when all of this congestion is on the XRPL? What does it do to that price? It would raise it would raise. Theoretically speaking, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Make up your own mind, all right? So now, keep in mind, this is in Saudi Rials, SARs, okay? But as you saw, 79 billion converts over to market cap 24 billion US dollars. So now you got an idea of how much everything is when we're talking these numbers, all right? And then also you could run that through a little converter if you want to anyway, just by seeing the numbers. So cash and balances with Saudi Central Bank, 13 billion SAR. I'm just going to round everything up. Actually, I should be rounded to 14 billion, actually. Due from banks and other financial institutions net. And actually, that was 2021. Why did they put 2021 at the end? 2022. Let's go with 2022 here. 2 billion SAR. It was as of the 30th of September 2021. It was 5 billion. And you can round that up to 6 billion. Still looking really good. Loans and advances, 183 billion SAR. If I'm reading that correctly. In loans and advancement, that's a lot of volume. That's a lot of value. Think about that for a moment. It's looking good. property, equipment, and right of use assets. 3 billion, you can round that up to 4 billion actually. Total assets 299 billion. Let's round that up to 300 billion in SAR. Everything's looking good. This is a healthy bank. Every time we're talking about banks that Ripple is dealing with, they're healthy banks. And look how many banks we can talk about. How many banks have we covered? Dozens upon dozens of banks we've covered. And yet these other projects that are worried and these other people that are worried about XRP never mention all the partnerships that are literally signed up, all the banks that are literally signed up. There is no other chain that can say they have as many banks as XRP, maybe Quant, and in the future, Quant has access, but they don't have declared memorandums of understanding. They have a deal signed with SIA Chain, SIA Partners. That has a lot of potentiality. We're talking over 500 different institutions, 500 different banks that Quant has access to. So yeah, they could come close to XRP given due time. But as of right now, I'm talking about signed on the dotted line. Nobody comes close to XRP right now. The XRPL, Ripple, right now. Okay, so you got to ignore that FUD. It's nonsense. They want people out and they're making a big push to get people out. And you know what's funny? I'll even go out on a limb and say I believe a lot of people that are trying to FUD the people out are probably deep into XRP. They're probably deep. I've seen it before. I showed you before. There was a gentleman who is allegedly wealthy who said that Bitcoin was trash. Meanwhile, had purchased Bitcoin just shortly before that individual came on TV and said Bitcoin was trash. See how that game works? Flushed everybody out while they got in at a low. Then everything went up and that person made a lot of money. They play these games. You have to make up your own mind. In the big money game, make up your own mind, right? Don't let anyone tell you to do this or that. It's up to you. Then you'll sleep well at night. Trust me on that. All right, so this bank is looking healthy. Let's move on to here. So now, another bank in the MENA region. Listen, and these banks are playing with all this money without the mechanisms and the infrastructures as of now to have the tokenization of all of that oil money in the region flowing through them. But that will come, that will happen. And in fact, in my humble opinion, there will be so much money because of the tokenization of oil in mass. I'm talking about in mass and the backing of different currencies with oil. If that does indeed occur, that there will be so much money that these banks will explode, which also is going to affect possibly the price of XRP. Then keep in mind, there's also the advent of banks taking over crypto. As I said last year, I thought that they would. And look at them. They're trying to buy up all the different assets of all these different failed exchanges. The IMF and the European Central Bank have been issuing these different documents telling them how much of the crypto they can hold. Right? So they're preparing to sort of act in place of the exchanges at some point in the future. Then keep in mind that most of the people on earth still love the banks. So they're going to trust the banks with their money. It's all they know. They were born into that system. It's all they know. They don't want to use some complicated exchange. They just want to go to their bank and say, hey, let me get some Bitcoin. I like that Bitcoin. I heard people are making money with it. Let me have a little bit of that. That's easeability. They're going to go with that. People go with comfort over efficiency most of the time. It's a sad thing, but that's the way that it is. So then you have that also going to occur, and that's going to bring capital into these banks. So I don't know if I said that eloquently. That equals a lot of possible capital flowing through the XRPL for a myriad of different reasons. So then we have this bank here. This is another bank signed up to use the XRPL. Look these things up, screenshot these documents, save them. All right. Albaraka, right? Albaraka. They are signed up to use RippleNet, XRP. Says here, the Bahrain headquartered leading Islamic banking multinational Albaraka Banking Group, BSC, which is traded at Bahrain Bourse and NASDAQ Dubai, today announced a net income attributable to shareholders of the parent company of US $26 million. That's their net income. All right. In the first quarter of 2021, that's a healthy bank. They're doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. compared to US $24 million of the same period 2020. So they went up, so they're growing. And that's another trend that we see. All the banks that Ripple has been dealing with are growing. And they're in regions that are set to explode. Money, 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 money. We haven't sang the money song in a long time. Money, 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 money. That's money. And I have to have a little bit of it. I have to. But they're doing very well is what I'm saying. Let's continue on here. An increase of 5%. The basic and diluted earnings per share for the first quarter of 2021. US $2.11 compared to US $1.97 basic and diluted earnings per share. Okay. For the same period 2020. During the first quarter of the year, the group continued to focus on operational efficiency. I'm glad that they are, which contributed to reducing operating expenses. That's another thing. Look what they're focused on. We're going to help them do that at a rapid pace and save much more. And that's their focus. This is why they signed up with RippleNet to use XRP. I can't wait till they flip that switch. I can't wait till regulatory clarity. Oh, it's going to be a fun time. It's almost time to play. But let's continue on here. I'm ready to get in the game. I'm in the game, but you know what I mean. When they flip that switch, ooh. It says, reducing operating expenses by 12% to reach $136 million. My goodness. Compared to US $153 million during the same period last year. Another increase. These are healthy banks Ripple's dealing with. What's a fudder? Oh, a pig that don't fly right. What's a hassa? What's a hassa? What's a hassa, Frank? It's a pig that don't fly straight. You remember that from Scarface? What's a hassa, Frank? It's a pig that don't fly straight. What's a fudder? A pig that don't fly straight. All right, now. I'm sorry, fudders. I know that's your business is what you do. I know. I'm just having a little bit of fun. So here, let's continue down here. The equity attributable to the parent shareholders and Sukuk holders amounted to US 1.39 billion. Oh, I love it. I like it a lot. And that was by the end of March 2021 compared to US 1.42 billion by the end of December 2020. Okay, so this is a minor little decrease. I'm not worried about that at all, especially not once we have everything up and running fully. And all the networks are running. That's important to have all the networks running across the world. All the banks can participate. Then we have these bank-to-bank processes going on everywhere and anywhere. And then the opportunities that were closed off before are opened up. That's where that extra capital was coming from. None of that has occurred as of yet. Or else you would be seeing that price go up, right? So everything it happens in its own time. Everything happens in degrees. These things have to be developed. They are infrastructures. They're not pump and dumps. These are serious technologies. Serious technologies. You can't expect them to move like a Dogecoin or a Shiba or one of these other crazy projects. These are real serious technologies that took a lot of time to implement, and they're going to take a lot of time, a little bit more time at least, for the users of those technologies to understand them and how to use them properly and test them. It's not just about trust. It's about testing them, which we saw that some projects have come to an end with their testing, which is a good sign. Now we have a lot of these banks playing around in digital sandboxes right now. Let them play. Let them test it out. Let their people get familiar with it. That way, when we're ready for everything to go off, there's nothing to hold us back. You understand? All right. So now that's Albaraka. Operating assets, amounted financing and investments amounted to $21.48 billion. Every time we're talking about these banks, we're talking billions. At least the banks that Ripple is dealing with. We haven't seen an unhealthy bank yet. All right, so now let's continue on here. All right. Now, this had a very important part to it. I clicked on this. I'm not sure which document this is. Bear with me one moment, please. This is their corporate profile. All right. That's what it says here. Corporate profile, annual report 2021. But I want to read this little tidbit about Albaraka Islamic Bank, AIB, or quote, the group. This is how they're phrasing it. It says Albaraka Islamic Bank, AIB, or the group is a retail Islamic bank licensed by the Central Bank of Bahrain. we need to look into them too. Look into them as well. Or CBB and is registered with Bahrain's Ministry of Industry, Commerce, and Tourism under commercial registration number 14400, 144,000. Wait, no, my bad. My apologies. Oh, that number. I was like, what? Let me not start paying attention to numbers. But anyway, that just stood out to me. 14400. Anyway, some of you understand why, right? The group has an authorized capital. This is important here. This is why I wanted to read. The group has an authorized capital of 600 million US dollars. We were just talking about billions. This is a healthy bank. It says, and an issued and paid up capital of 136 million US dollars. This is who we're dealing with. These types of banks is who we are dealing with. And these, I hate to say it, these are not even the big shots. They're big. They're moving a lot of money. But we're actually dealing with huge banks. Just wait until we get to those. Yeah, people, they won't believe it. They don't hear it. I'm giving them the actual evidence. I'm giving them factual evidence here. You can look all of this up for yourself, a little Google search or Brave browser search, whatever you use. You can look all this up for yourself, all right? The proof is there. So I want to get to another bank here. I don't want to keep everyone here too long today. And I have so many other projects I need to begin to work on as well. Another bank that they have signed up, National Bank of Kuwait. Now, I was going to just click on their regular financial statement, but there's an interesting document here. Very interesting. And I said, let me go over this document. I do financial documents all the time. Let me look at this document here. This document is titled National Bank of Kuwait's Liquidity Disclosure, third quarter 2022. Let's click on that. Let's find out. Let's find out what this is about. Now, listen to this closely. I told you the banks are in a liquidity crisis. They've been trying, and we read this from the European Central Bank itself. They've been trying to find a way to get around the shortage on liquidity. Also, the Fed told you themselves. Remember, what did they say? A lot of what they have has been rendered illiquid. They said it themselves, illiquid. There's a liquidity crisis going on. Then we covered a document recently where the individual told you he spoke to some of the heads of some of the biggest banks in the world. And they told him what? They told him they don't have liquidity. Keep that in mind when we read this document here, okay? It says here, in December, this is from September 30th, 2022, but they're going to make some references, all right? Here's one of them. In December 2014, the Central Bank of Kuwait issued a directive 2/RB/345/2014 to banks operating in Kuwait on the adoption of the liquidity coverage ratio. Keep that in mind. As part of the central bank's implementation of the Basel III reforms. We've covered the Basel III reforms. People better know, where's that liquidity going to come from if they don't have it? If the banks don't have the liquidity, where are they going to get it from? You ever heard of on-demand liquidity? You ever heard of instant liquidity? The liquidity tokens? They can do much more than act as bridge currencies. Keep that in mind. And on-demand liquidity is patented. So even if they wanted to use it, they reach out, they want to use it. No, you can't use it. That's ours. Oh, we're winning too much. There's no guarantees, but the setup is beautiful. Let's continue on here. The main objective of the liquidity coverage ratio is to promote the short-term resilience. Oh, my word. Did you just see that bank run that happened? What was that bank called? What was that bank? There was a bank run that happened. Like, was it like last week? And the people removed that. Correct me if I'm wrong. They removed, what did they remove? Like was it 8 billion? Was it 8 billion? Maybe I should have probably had that article up here, but there was a bank run. This is what they're trying to, one of the biggest things they're trying to combat, bank runs. They don't have enough money for it. It will destroy them. I told you that in the last video because of their lack of liquidity. But anything goes wrong, people start, and I don't even know why that bank run occurred. I'm not keeping up with a lot of other things. I'm focused right now. But they need liquidity badly to combat things of that nature because the banks want to thrive. They want to survive. They're a business like all other businesses, right? They're here to make some money. So anyway, let's continue on here. Short-term resilience is what brought that to mind. So if there's a bank run, they need liquidity to access, to pull from, to be able to give the people this money while they themselves are still able to remain afloat and stabilized. They don't currently have that capability. No bank does right now. They don't have that capability. That's why when there's bank runs, they shut the doors, they turn off the ATMs at a certain point. And that's why they put out that document a few months back. Well, a lot of you did. You already screenshotted that and you downloaded that. But you can look it up for yourself, where the banks were saying the same thing crypto exchanges were saying. You see how everybody's mad at these exchanges that went under? And so those exchanges then were saying what? Oh, well, your assets are ours now. Now you're listed as creditors. Not your keys, not your crypto. Then the judge recently said what? Not your keys, not your crypto. Well, so if people are that mad at the exchanges, the banks have been saying the same thing. But the banks saying that overall. If you're putting your money with us and you're putting your crypto with us, whatever you put with us, if we happen to go under, you're going to be listed as creditors. You better check that out. You better look into that. Now, I don't know if that's all banks, but I know a myriad of banks put out those documents. Might want to check on that. All right. I mean, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. That's factual information there. All right. So anyway, short-term resilience of the liquidity risk profile of banks by ensuring they're trying to ensure that they have sufficient level of high quality liquid assets. How are they going to do that? How are they going to do that? Don't get me wrong. They've been buying record amounts of gold. We're going to cover a little gold at the end of this video, by the way. But they've been buying record amounts of gold. So they're buying record amounts of gold. Right now, they can't really play with oil because of the green agendas. So their hands, they want to reach out and play with that oil money, but they really can't. So they might play a little bit. You get what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I speak in a particular way, but they might play a little bit, but they can't play a lot. It's the same way with crypto, how they have these crypto restrictions on the banks with certain types of crypto. They can play a little bit, but they can't play as much as they want to and bring in that big money. So now you have gold, and silver hasn't popped off yet, even though silver, like I said, watch for silver in the future. You do what you want to do. But if silver is needed in all of these electric cars, right, because it's one of the best conductors of energy, if it's needed in all of these, what do you call those things? The solar windmills and in the solar panel. I mean, silver is needed everywhere. There's going to be a high demand, and it's going to be a much more higher demand than what their capabilities of mining it, the speed of mining it is. That would theoretically lead to that price going up. But anyway, so maybe you could play with gold a little bit, play with a little bit of silver. What else? What else? So where do you get this high quality liquid asset from? Remember, they're signed up to use what? The XRPL, on-demand liquidity. Everyone knows, everyone in the financial industry knows. Worst come to worst, on-demand liquidity. Ripple said that they can provide that liquidity. They have all of this big money that they're pooling together into XRP, or going to do that, however they're putting that together. But everyone knows, when worst come to worst, XRP. Now, whether they actually use it or not, who knows? Because sometimes the Titanic goes down and people get on the lifeboats, and sometimes there's people that play the instruments and they go down with the ship. You get what I'm saying? So who knows what they're actually going to do when the pressure is on? That's up to leadership. But nonetheless, that doesn't negate from the fact that it's well known that the liquidity tokens are here. and they can create the biggest liquidity cushion. Haven't I been saying this? The biggest liquidity cushion mankind has ever seen. I'm not saying they did it. I'm saying they have the potentiality to do it. High quality liquid assets. Listen, you can issue any asset on Stellar. They love Stellar. No one has better liquidity than XRP right now, especially with how many banks they have set up and how many partnerships they have, memorandums of understanding. The liquidity is through the roof and it's only growing. They have the most corridors right now. So XRP has skin in the game. Quant is right there with Overledger for interoperability to make sure that any interoperability that doesn't exist between the legacy system and crypto that could be brought by XRP could be brought by Quant. So then you have Quant there. You have Quant, you have XLM for retail and instant liquidity, automated market makers and liquidity pools. Then you have XRP there, the big dog on the block for wholesale and everything else. Whew. Algorand is there with some of the absolute best smart contracts on the planet. Never been down one time as a blockchain. Algorand is working with a myriad of banks. They got skin in the game. How much more do we need to win? Hey, it's just my humble opinion. But with those, that's where you get your high quality liquid assets. But I believe that they will be able to do that in the future by digitizing everything, tokenizing everything, backing it with something, some kind of commodity, making sure that that liquidity, anything that they want to run through and make sure it has liquidity, they run it through XRP. Take this asset right here. It's almost illiquid. We're having bank runs on it, whatever. Run it through XRP. Here's the liquidity. You see how that works? You're just running it through that pool and now it's liquid and it gets to where it's supposed to go. Run it through your closed ecosystem with XLM and your liquidity pools. The banks can form their own liquidity pools. And they already attempted to use automated market makers. Run it through there. Boom. That capital gets to where it needs to be. That asset gets to where it needs to be. No problems when it comes to liquidity. We're going to solve that liquidity problem. But anyway, so it says here, ensuring that they have sufficient high-level, high-quality liquid assets, HQLA, that's what their acronym is, to survive a significant stress scenario lasting for a period of up to 30 days. What are they preparing for? What? 30 days? What's coming? What's going on? I've read too many documents like this. A significant stress scenario lasting for a period of up to 30 days. Listen, they don't write this stuff because on accident. This comes from briefings. What have they been briefed on that so many banks are talking like this? And they've been telling people a great reset is coming, right? If a great reset is coming, that means that there's going to be a time of, how can I put it, great turbulence, tribulation, when that transition has to happen. Something must collapse. I think they're going to allow it to collapse. That's why they're all preparing for long periods of quote unquote significant stress. That's where the bank coins step in, and that's where they shine, providing that liquidity, security, efficiency, speed, bridging all the CBDCs together because they don't have interoperability at all. They don't. Bridging all those CBDCs together. And then also keep in mind that they want all their CBDCs to be different, designed differently. So compatibility would be an issue for them, but it's not an issue for us. We can interlink everything without bridges, because bridges have been getting hacked. So even though some bridge systems have been doing well as of late, those same bridge systems, look them up. They've been hacked already. How does a bank trust them? So it says the LCR is reported and monitored at 3 organizational levels. Okay, so that part we don't need to know. So I'm going to leave that there. There's so much to these documents here. I want to end off with a little bit of gold news. So let's go there. Let's end off with a little bit of gold news. Did you see this document that was released by mkspamp.com? Let me scroll up. I want to give you the name of this document. Then we'll go back down here to read this section. This is from the MKS Pamp Group. MKS Pamp Group Precious Metals Outlook 2023. And it goes as such. Our macro view is to play for a slower Fed and rising stagflation. I said that before. Didn't I say that? Well, I didn't say it for a slower Fed. I feel like they have to actually keep their rates up, to be quite honest, if they want to get it down. But because of politics, they might go slower, because now they may not care because of how United States politics is going. But I won't get too deep into that. But I did say that stagflation, we've already been in stagflation. So, and they've reported multiple times that certain inflation levels, not food and energy, but certain inflation levels have plateaued. That's stagflation, because it's plateaued at a high place. But let's continue on here. It says, and recession risks, which will ensure both peak US dollar and peak real US yields. Inflation will fall, but not to target. That's what I was just saying here. And the recoveries will be uneven and will ultimately disappoint. Ooh, okay. That setup has already ensured gold pivoted from trading defensively for most of 2022 to trading offensively, where dips are actively capitalized on. Of course, we love gold. We're going to capitalize every chance we get, baby. Of course. Establishing a new technical bull trend after the Fed ended its 75 basis point hiking regime in November 2022. Here we go. Strong physical demand driven by India, which is only going to continue because India is growing exponentially, China, and parts of Southeast Asia, which also, look at how many people are deep in, bank coin companies are deep in Southeast Asia. I told you, they're deep everywhere where commodities are going to be rich and demanded and need liquidity to flow back and forth. Liquidity, efficiency, things of that nature, interoperability. They need all of that because they need it to be tokenized for it to flow a little bit better. Just my humble opinion. It says renewed central bank purchases. They've been purchasing record amounts. We cover that as well. And very strong retail coin/bar demand has created a robust foundation in the low 1600s and will continue to provide support into 2023 as a combination of slower global growth and deglobalization ensures gold acts as a safe diversifier in times of escalating uncertainty. That is interesting that they said that. Deglobalization. BRICS nations on the rise, and they're not going along with a lot of stuff that the West has wanted to put forward. It says last year we forecasted average gold prices at $1,800. Gold closed 22 at $1,824 an ounce. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I like gold. I do. I definitely do. Our bullish case did not play as we overestimated the following three drivers, which are still in effect. We were just early. So they have more bullet points here. I want to read this third bullet point, though, if you would allow me. The massive wealth destruction in equities, bonds, and crypto meant gold stood no chance in 2022 due to the persistent degrossing driven by ETF outflows, where cash/US dollar was king. The unprecedented failure of the traditional 60-40 portfolios is unlikely to be repeated in 2023. And while equity gains may be limited and a slog, that allows for investors to increase gold ownership into slowing growth outlook. I've been saying that all last year, haven't I? You get in at the low, man. You get in at the low. These are opportunities here. Most people don't see that, though. They buy at the top all the time. Only when something goes up, for some reason, people think it looks good. When it's already at like an all-time high, or it's already at a high, then they're unaware that dips are coming. I mean, it's unbelievable, but you can just watch the gold charts get in at a low, something like that. I'm not telling you to do that either. It's not financial advice. I'm just speaking my mind. I'm just sharing thoughts that are coming into my mind. That's all. All right. All right. Do what you want to do. Not financial advice. It says here, we have an average price forecast of $1,880 an ounce with upside risks, given a very underowned investor community and structural bullish drivers, which usually emerge after an aggressive Fed hiking cycle. Gold has been down on a hawkish Fed fighting inflation, but it is not out, with upward trajectory from here on out. This is from MKS BAMP. Base case 2023 average price forecast, $1,880 an ounce, a slower Fed and rising stagflation and recession risks, which will ensure both peak US dollar and peak real US yields. So this is like the summation of what everything they were saying. Inflation will fall, but not the target. Okay. So there we have it. So that was just a summation of everything that they were already iterating. Bullish case, alternative scenarios to goals base. Oh, they're starting to sound a little bit. One of my people in the comment section made a very bold gold prediction. I saw it. Oh yeah, I saw it. I liked it. It's bold, but I liked it. Bullish case, $2,300 per ounce, dependent on sustained financial market volatility, lower global growth, and/or much faster cooling of inflation drives dovish Fed slash central bank policies earlier. 2, failure of the traditional 60-40 portfolio and reevaluation of allocations leads to renewed strategic investment in inflows. 3, CB slash Fed policy mistake leads to a structurally weaker US dollar. I was saying that also. Fed, you better be careful what you're doing, but we'll see how it works out with what you're doing. Dovish, eh? Okay. Weaker US dollar and/or revisiting gold revisiting gold in the monetary system. This is Pamp telling you. It's a new age coming, folks. Hey, this is what they're saying. It says, leads to a structurally weaker US dollar and/or revisiting gold in the monetary system. I'm not saying it. This is Pamp saying it. That's huge. 4, Asian or CB physical demand is stronger than expected, especially if China reopens faster. Number 5, this is the last one we're going to cover here. New off-calendar geopolitical risks, China, Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, etc., and macroeconomic risks, sovereign debt issues. Debt? We could just cover debt in one of those videos. It was 2 videos back. My goodness, man. Oh, so good to be a researcher. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.